wildfires that have forced hundreds of thousands of people from their homes. At least 3 people have been killed, including 2 firefighters. And a Middle Tennessee family is among those who survived a harrowing ordeal in France after being trapped by one of those fires, unable to flee. Joining us now to tell us about that experience is Rebecca Papin of France, or I should say of Franklin, who was in France and forced to shelter in place along with her children. Rebecca, this is a crazy experience. Thank you for talking with us about it.
Thank you for having me.
I should tell people that you're a writer and you and your family were vacationing in France when the fire started. Now, what part of the country were you in, and when did you get back home?
I was in the southwest of France on the Atlantic coast. I was about 50 minutes to the west of Bordeaux in the city of Biscarrosse, which is surrounded by a national forest. So we arrived on June 21st and we came back home on Wednesday night.
I know this has been quite the time there. If you will, tell us about the circumstances that resulted in you and your children, 11 and 9, having to shelter in place at the home you were staying at.
So originally I thought that I had missed the evacuation order because I had in earplugs and I heard nothing during the night when the city was evacuated. But when my neighbor returned from evacuation, she told me that the evacuation had actually occurred at 10 p.m. on Thursday night, and I had been at the beach unsure of what to do at that point. So I was not home when my street was evacuated and when the entire city was evacuated.
Now, I can appreciate, as an adult, you could, maintain your calm. What did you do to make sure the children, didn't, get too anxious? Because, I mean, this was scary.
I stayed extremely calm, and they were watching everything that I was doing. So because I was extremely calm, they were extremely calm.
Oh, that's great. I can imagine trying to do that. Now, I can imagine with all the fires, and I've seen maps, so when you tell me about exactly where you were, I know that's where it was burning. I'm sure it was really smoky. How close did the fire get to where you were?
About 2 miles away, and the closest house that burned was about 2 miles away from where I live. We lost over 200 houses just in the town of Biscarrosse.
Well, I think that roughly 200 homes have been destroyed, so it sounds like most of the homes that were destroyed were close to you. Did you actually see any of that on your way out, the homes that were destroyed?
I didn't see any of the homes that had been destroyed because that area remains barricaded and controlled by the military. But I did see the fire on Thursday night in the distance. I did see the actual flames going up in the forest.
Now, I know wildfires are not unheard of in the southern part of France, but this fire season is different. In fact, I read a comment by the French President Macron calling this unprecedented. Did you have a sense of that?
Yes, I've been going to France every year since I was 18 when I started going to college at the American University of Paris in Paris. And I've never experienced a summer like this one. When I arrived, it was the equivalent of about 109 degrees. We were in a heat wave, and I've never, ever experienced heat of that nature in France. This was unlike any hot summer. This was above a Tennessee summer. This was so hot.
Well, we've seen problems. I know your heart must go out to the people that are still there, because I'm sure a lot of people, although I read today some people were allowed to come back to their homes, thousands, but still thousands, if not over 100,000, are still waiting.
Yes, many have been able to return to the city of Biscarrosse. However, there's still an entire section that is evacuated because that's where it touches the forest, and that's where all the homes have been destroyed, and no one is allowed to return to that part right now.
When you flew out, were you able to see, I guess, a big picture from above of just how the scope of the fire must be huge?
The pilot said that we could look out the window if we wanted to see the smoke from the fires, and I chose not to do that because I was not wanting to see the smoke again after having been watching the smoke for multiple days in person.
I completely can appreciate that. Well, we are glad that you and your children are back home and you're safe. Rebecca Papin, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you so much.